Everything is fine here on Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Michael Mudge, joined by Dustin DeFranco, here to talk some Star Wars with all you guys and gals. It's kind of an exciting time. We've got Star Wars Celebration coming up. We've got the next episode of Mandalorian, which we will invest most of the time today to talk through. So we'll bring you that breakdown and give you guys our opinions and thoughts on the episode. How you doing there, Dustin?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I was in Vegas last week when you guys recorded for a work conference, which was fun. I hate Vegas. I hate it as a city. It just doesn't jive with who I am as a person, you know. But I did a really good job of pacing myself.
There you go.
Vegas is so just like everything. I talked to some people that been going there for years and years for this conference, and they're like, I remember when there's like $5 all you can eat buffets.
No more.
You couldn't even get a single stick of gum for $5 there now. It's
so times have changed.
Unbelievable. Dude, beers are minimum $15 each. Minimum. Right?
Isn't it the case where it's like it's cheap to get and stay in Vegas?
Correct.
But once you're there, it's extremely expensive. I've never been to.
But there's the inventory of hotel rooms is nuts.
Yeah,
there's
you can always find something.
Hundreds of thousands of hotel rooms. I did have a cool experience. We went up to what's called the Stratosphere, which looks like the Space Needle in Seattle.
Yeah. Yep.
It's supposed to be like 1,200 feet tall. It was pretty cool. Like you can bungee jump off that.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Oh, and then there's this giant thing that like spins around on the top. Like you could hear it like moving the needle. I was like, oh god. Yeah,
not for me. I'll jump out of a plane, but I won't do that.
Yeah, but that was really cool. That was a really fun experience. But overall, I don't like Vegas. I took a red eye flight home, and when I say red eye, I mean like the reddest of red eyes. It took off. It was actually midnight by the time it took off because they never take off when they tell you they're going to take off. But
never.
So let's just say it was from midnight, and we landed at 5 a.m. because you lose 2 hours, right? And by the way, I was sitting next to a 300-pound person, and who had a very big leg, and they were like half in of my in my seat, like everyone who flies,
Were you aisle, middle, window?
Thank God I was aisle.
Oh, that helps.
And it was a family of five. Like I don't know, they were just maybe sisters, their kids. They were on the flight all together. So I wasn't gonna say anything. I just wanted to mind my own business and get home.
Yeah, you were just uncomfortable.
Yeah, very uncomfortable. My legs were basically out in the aisle the entire time. And the stewardess looked at me, and then she looked at the situation. She's like, "Out loud."
I understand.
Yeah. And I looked at her like, "I'll
please,
move them when I need to."
Yeah, please just disregard me, and bring me some extra drinks.
And I flew Sun Country, which it's you pay for what you get. It was the cheapest flight there and back. It was very reasonable cost wise, but so I just kept my mouth shut, landed. What I didn't like though was like when you land, there's a certain etiquette that like you don't get up when the wheels touch the ground, right? Which no one did, not to my knowledge, because if someone does that, they literally like don't move the plane. Like you have
and they'll call you out. Yep.
Yeah, but like especially with a Sun Country flight, where because the way it boards, like bags could be all over the place, right?
Yeah.
My bag was like 4 rows behind where I sat. So I had to go back and get my bag and then come back and leave, right?
And you have to pay for carry-on, don't you?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember when I booked it, but it's like $25. It's stupid. But anyway, it's just people getting off. Everyone's in a rush to get off the plane, but some people are more impatient than others. I get it. If you have a connecting flight, okay, and you say something like, "Hey guys, if I don't get out of here really fast, I'm gonna miss my trip." Everyone understands. Like, okay, the sea will open up for you, like normal. But if you just do it without asking, you're a douchebag, and like you should be put in the airplane prison for like a day.
And I feel like every flight has a couple of those.
Yeah, everyone does. Or like the person, this happened. It's 5 a.m. Everyone's grumpy. Like everyone's tired. Like the person, you're sitting there waiting to get out, right? There's an order of how it works, right? I don't know exactly if it's left aisle or right aisle first, but it's one aisle, then the next, then the next, then the next. And there's this person behind you going, like, we're not moving any faster because you just sighed like a giant, wampa.
Good reference there.
Yeah, thank you. It just drives me. It's like, we all want to get off the plane, person. Just be patient.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yep.
We're in a sardine can, 30,000 feet up in the air most of the time. It's not great. Like, let's
it is kind of an interesting, flying is kind of an interesting concept if you just actually sit down and think about it. How everyone's just kind of jammed into this little like metal tin flying.
Mike,
so
more than I do. I mean, you get it. Like,
yeah. Oh, for sure.
Mike's probably like super triple medallion, like secret medallion member because he flies so damn much.
Well, we put everything on Colleen's card, which is, gets Delta points, and we have a lot of points. That's for sure. So but I used to be.
Can you use those to fly my brother up here?
I mean, you can talk to Colleen, make a little wager with her, or like a deal.
No, I'll tell you. I'll look after Lincoln that week. I'll piss my mother-in-law off.
We already got someone. We found someone to.
Okay, good. Yeah. Callie's like, my mom's not gonna be happy about that.
No, that's totally fair. Yeah, we found someone. They've watched over Lincoln one other time, so we got that covered.
So I know we can maybe go into more depth in a different episode, but I do want to chat a little bit about Bad Batch because I finished.
Oh, you did finish up?
Yeah, I did. I loved it. I mean, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought they made a really bold move. Spoiler alerts, if anyone.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we'll put that spoiler tag, but I mean, it's been time, and I talked a little bit about it last week. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that they killed off Tech was it sucks, but it's cool because there's some stakes.
Yeah. Yep. And I hope not in a bad way, because I know a lot of people would probably disagree, but I hope they don't bring him back.
Me too.
Like, it was a perfect death.
It was impactful.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't think Filoni will, because I mean, he's killed off clones or people that we get attached to in the animated shows that he's done. So I don't think Tech will come back, but I was very impressed with the last half of that season. The first half, like there were some, I won't call them misses, but not as interesting episodes to me. But
I just love this idea that like Palpatine is trying to find any advantage he can. He's got all these like little secret projects going on, right? So he's got this creature that he's trying to do something with, and they don't really. Maybe they did, but I don't really remember them explaining. Exactly.
The Zillo Beast.
Yeah.
Remember from Clone Wars, the show too? It was in that.
Yeah, very vaguely.
Yeah, this is
mentioned it.
This is a clone from that.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want to talk about it too in depth because we could probably spend an entire episode about it. But I really liked the season, how it ended up, and some of the emotional impact it had towards the end. And again, it felt kind of Rebels and Clone Wars at the end there.
Yeah.
With some of the cool stories you had. And then of course at the very, very end you see that Omega has a sister, right? Who's a complete bitch, by the way.
Yeah. I don't think she's an actual like clone sister. I think it's more like part of her DNA was used to create Omega. That's my initial instinct, at least. And I think that character definitely resembles Tech. So I thought it was very significant that like Tech dies and then she gets introduced. And she even wears like those goggle things, kind of like what Tech wears. But she's more on the medical side and he was more on the mechanical side. So I thought that was pretty fascinating.
I just find it funny. Like she had the high ground at one point, like she's on the roof, and you get the bad Imperial guy.
Yeah. Yep. The doctor.
Just fucking shoot him. Like,
yeah.
Like I remember the movie, this Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Right, where they're in that like hostage negotiation.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what do we do? And
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. He's like, I know what to do. And he just walks in and shoots the dude in the head. I'm like,
yes.
Oh, well, killing the leader usually has a pretty profound impact on the group,
For sure.
I just for once want to see that scene recreated. That scene is perfect in that movie because
it's how it should be handled.
Yeah, well, and but they explain it, right? That they completely fall apart without a leader. So I mean, there's some context to why he did that. But I thought that was so brilliant. I mean, literally, he just walks in, like, the scene was just done so perfectly, and just that's a great movie.
Yeah, it is a really good. It's an underrated movie for sure.
That's in my top 10 for sure.
I don't know if I'd put it in my top 10, but it is. It's a really good movie.
Honestly, the scene where like the one gal's singing, the like blue alien, she's really tall.
Yeah, who gets the very high pitched note.
And then the Fifth Element gal is like kicking ass in the same time.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Multipass.
Have you ever seen a movie completely sidetracked? And that's what we do here on this podcast. Have you ever seen a movie called Equilibrium? I was just thinking about this the other day.
Who's in that one?
Christian Bale.
I have not. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Dude, do yourself a favor if you get some time this weekend, or when you go fly later this month, download it on your iPad or whatever and watch it. It is like, it's The Matrix before The Matrix.
Have you seen The Accountant with Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
That's really good. I saw that the other day and I forgot how good of a movie that was.
Yeah. Equilibrium fans, if you haven't seen it, it's a Christian Bale movie. It's a post-apocalyptic movie where Christian Bale is.
How is someone an Equilibrium fan if they haven't seen it?
What do you mean?
You just said Equilibrium fans if you haven't seen it. I'm giving you crap.
Yeah. Non-Equilibrium fans. It's a great movie, man. There's some really cool moments, some really, really cool dialogue at the end. I would highly recommend. Sean Bean's in it. He dies right away.
Oh, Sean Bean dies in everything.
I know.
No, I'll have to check that one out. Well, yeah, let's move on to some Star Wars stuff. Well, we did talk a little Bad Batch, but I think we will save Bad Batch for its own recording or own episode, maybe after the Mandalorian show has completed, because I think we do need to give it its justice and it deserves some talking about. But I do really want to call out really quick. Star Wars Celebration is this weekend. I think it starts on the 7th. So it's the 7th through the 10th. And I know this isn't really relevant to if you're listening to the recording, which will come out on Monday, but we are live now again. So bring us your thoughts, opinions. We have the chat running, talk to us. So if you are listening to us live right now, Star Wars has released information about you are able to watch some of the panels and some of the things that are taking place at Celebration through StarWars.com. So they will be providing links and live feeds and everything for Star Wars Celebration if you're not able to attend, because it is in London. So I know a bunch of our stateside people won't be able to attend. But so here's what they kind of wrote up about it. Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023 will be held April 7th through 10th, and StarWars.com will provide coverage throughout the duration of the show with live streaming, breaking news, and original photos. Here's what you need to know. So you can tune into Star Wars Celebration Live on StarWars.com homepage or YouTube.com/Star Wars at 12:30 p.m. GMT or 5:30 a.m. Pacific time, Friday, April 7th. They give out all the dates. All the times. I won't go through those. And then Lucasfilm's official live stream, Star Wars Celebration Live, will feature select panels along with celebrity guests on the live stage and much more. So there's a lot of information that you can look up on StarWars.com, which will direct you where to go, where to find all this stuff, so you can be up to date with all the information and releases as they come out. I know there's a lot of things that people are anxiously waiting for coming through Star Wars Celebration. There's always some big news items, and so we'll be waiting to find out. And I'm looking forward to them announcing where the next year's Star Wars Celebration is, so that way all four of us can get our tickets and go, because it'll probably be stateside. So
we have so many business cards to hand out.
So many pamphlets, and I saw some pamphlets still at the source, so they're still being handed out. But all right, so let's just kind of move into the Mandalorian then. So buckle up, here we go. Season 3, chapter 22. Spoilers. Guns for Hire. There will be spoilers here, so if you haven't watched it yet, put us on pause, go watch it, and then come back and watch the rest of it. So before I kind of dive into it, just initial reaction from the episode. Dustin, how did you feel about it?
I liked it. I loved the acting from the mercenary group.
Axe Wolves.
Axe Wolf. Great. I loved his acting. I thought it was cool to see the Mon Calamari and
the Corrin. The Prince Corrin, and Corrin is the prince was the Mon Calamari.
Correct.
And then the Corrin was the princess or the captain of that cruiser.
Yeah.
The triangle-headed creatures.
Yeah. So I thought that was, it was cool. It's cool to see some, interracial politics there.
Yeah.
Love Jack Black. I don't know, like Lizzo, the dialogue at the end was kind of cringy. You and I talked about that.
Yeah.
No, I liked the episode. I love the live action
droids. Yeah, that was pretty sweet. Yep.
That was really well done. I love the acting from the Ugnaughts as well
as
the bartender.
Yep.
For the droid, that was, the dialogue was really good there.
Just the sound of the droid too was super cool. Like that background kind of like humming noise to his voice, like super like sci-fi techie. That was really cool.
Yeah, and then again, the Ugnaughts was great. Him knowing the Ugnaughts. I love the I have spoken thing. That was a great callback.
Little nod to Quill.
We miss Quill quite a bit. He was great. Yeah. So my overall reaction was very positive. Just with some nitpicky things, like some of the, again, I think it's cool. You put some people who are maybe Star Wars or probably Star Wars fans into the show, even if there's some pandering there with like a Lizzo character who may not like Star Wars. I don't know if she does or not, but hey, if it brings more fans in, someone says, "Oh, that's Lizzo. That's so cool." I mean, she wasn't terrible, but you could kind of tell it was a little hokey, and it also could have been the script. So I don't want to dog on it too much, but I just saying Jack Black, I kind of love that. And then of course, Doc.
Yep. Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, we finally got to see who his character was. So I had him in my predictions as going to be like an old, like legendary Mandalorian. I was way off on that one. He's a security, what was it? Commissioner Hellgate.
Samsonite.
I was way off. No, but yeah, it was great seeing him in there. Jack Black, and of course, Jack Black is always going to be involved in some kind of like comical or a little more lighter or airy scene. And of course, like he's having a feast with all these like crazy creatures and stuff like that. Like only Jack Black would be in a situation like that. So I thought that was pretty entertaining. So how many stars out of 5 would you give it?
I'd go 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
I'd probably go 3. I was okay with the episode. I think you like it a little more than I did. I do agree with the acting. Like there was some great acting. There was also some very cringy acting in it. I love the continuous representation of how much Din just does not trust droids and how much he does not like them. Because there was that scene where they're like investigating they're talking to the one battle droid.
He went right to bad cop.
Yeah, he went to bad cop and he's like punching him or kicking him to get them to react. And sure enough, they do. But I loved showing that representation of how much Din does not like or trust droids. So
I also like that Din does not give two shits about like being a leader of Mandalore. And he found a really clever way to kind of pass the baton.
Yeah.
Almost literally. To Bo-Katan. And I mean, I don't know if maybe I'm speaking out of term if some fans are disappointed that they wanted more conflict between Bo. Like,
that's what I was gonna say.
I don't know. I like Bo a lot, so I don't want to see them. I think they're a better team together than they would be at odds.
I agree.
I think we already had Paz Vizsla. Thank you. We've already seen him come to odds. I think they did that well. And Bo's right. The Mandalorians are much stronger together than they are fighting against each other. So I thought that was great. I thought that was awesome. I
Yeah.
texted you at the end. Hell
Yeah.
Lit that Darksaber up.
Yeah.
That's really who it belongs to.
Yes. Oh, completely agree. I 100% agree. I expected it to end in her hands, and I'm not. I won't.
It's going to be through conflict.
Well, I won't even say conflict. Like, I wasn't going to think that Bo and Din were going to like fight it out or something, but I thought it would be a little more dramatic, or I thought it would be a little more intense on how that resolves, and not just, oh, it reminded me of like Luke Skywalker being handed the lightsaber in the sequel trilogy, and then he just tosses it over his shoulder. Like, you're expecting like this dramatic thing to happen, and it wasn't. But I also agree that I think it is in the right hands now, and it is a smart way. Like, Din's shows his cleverness and, you know, intelligence, and we can work around, you know, your creed and get you this Darksaber so everyone would follow you. So
I just feel like when they get back to the Coven, they're gonna be like, we need an explanation. What happened?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
kick your ass like when you're gone. Like,
yeah. So I both really liked it and also didn't enjoy it to the fullest. So but
one of my favorite scenes in that, or I guess one of my favorite shots in that episode, was when they're walking, you know, through the camp, where the Mandalorians were, and you just saw that massive. It gives you like the scale of that ship.
Oh yeah,
that was
yeah,
really cool.
that was done well. Yeah, a lot of the imagery in this was really good. Like the planet looked super awesome. The city looked really neat. Even like I was telling you, the feast and everything, like very colorful, and it was very visually appealing. This episode. So
I want to go back real quick and talk.
Yeah.
And just say something I saw on the internet. I at the last episode, since I wasn't here.
Yeah.
God, they are making the New Republic look so incompetent.
Right? Yeah.
And I saw a meme where, you know, Tim Meadows, right? He was the ladies' man.
Oh yeah.
He walks in.
Oh yeah.
You see?
I saw this. Yes.
So he walks in. Yeah. The rebel pilot, or the New Republic pilot.
Yeah, Captain Teva.
So he walks in, and then the girl walks in, and he's like, he goes into his meme. His ladies' man costume. He's like, it's a lady.
It's a lady.
Yeah.
I did see that.
The New Republic looks so bad. You know, I think they're trying to send the message that the New Republic is almost no better than the Empire. You know,
yeah.
In the way it's run, they don't. You know, it's all about the bureaucracy and not about the people necessarily. So I don't know. Last episode was good, but I just, that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, and I would almost go even further. I agree. I think they're trying to show that, but I almost think they're trying to show that maybe the New Republic handles government or political affairs even worse than like the Empire did. Because I mean, if you think about it, you're going from like a ragtag group of like these spot clans of rebels and everything to controlling the whole empire or the whole galaxy. Like, that might be a little tough to do if you're doing like how would you call that? I mean, it's a republic, isn't it? But
that's what they call it.
But isn't it like a republic more like states' powers have more control over versus like a federal government type of a situation?
Well, that's what you see, right, with the Senate.
Right.
And
but there's still Yep, but there's still like one central figure that kind of controls it.
Well, they haven't, because like in the High Republic, you have the chancellors.
Yes. Yep. At some point you have one, at some points you have two.
Yes.
Yep.
So that is the central figure of the government. And I don't know if they've ever explained in this time frame if there is that chancellor or whatever you want to call it, leader.
Yeah, I want to say that, you know, it's probably just like a head senator that's like a chancellor or something. It's probably something similar, but I don't know who the central figure truly is. I mean, I would think Mon Mothma is probably a lead figure in that, but is she the main or only one? Who knows? So if you know, let us know. if you listeners know. All right, so just to break down the episode, we start in space with a cruiser, and it's being flown by a group of Koran, so the species we were talking about previously, and they pick up an Imperial ship approaching on their radar.
That's our trap.
Right? They determine they can't defeat it. They don't have the power to, so they hail it, and they hail it saying, "Hail Imperial friends," because it's a Star Destroyer, so they think it's Imperials.
It's a Star Cruiser.
Oh yeah, Star Cruiser. You're right. It wasn't a destroyer, was it? And they explained that they're just doing business in the mid-rim, and they claim they weren't aware of Imperial presence. But come to find out, it's not Imperial. It's a cruiser that's being taken over by the Mandos. So Axe Wolves and his crew, which is Bo-Katan's old crew. And they state that they are criminals for hire. They're loyal, and they were hired by the Mon Calamari. And they're there to retrieve the prince, who later comes out to the captain's deck, and he's in a relationship with the captain of that ship. At least that was my assumption. And the Mandalorians take the prince with them, and then we cut to the title scene. So it was cool seeing some Koran and some Mon Calamari, getting an idea where Axe Wolves and the rest of Bo-Katan's previous crew were, because I mean that was a big question mark outside of Bo-Katan telling us that they have fled. So it was interesting to see that. I also like the little Bacta tank, but it wasn't a Bacta tank. It was a water tank for the cat. So do they just have to get underwater for a little bit and then they can be out in like normal air for a while? Or what do you think about that?
Just, it's like feeding a fish tank.
And was that like alcohol they poured in there? Or it was like a martini glass of some kind of liquid that they poured in?
There should be like a sign on there, "Don't tap the glass."
So next we see Bo-Katan's ship making an entrance to a system, and Bo and Din are aboard with R5 and Grogu, and they spot Axe Wolves' stolen cruiser and the fellow fighter ships. You see all their ships kind of landed there. And they land outside the ship's perimeter. And then you hear this like weird overhead speaker saying that they've been granted a landing spot and took over control of the ship to bring them into land. And even Bo and Dan were like, the heck is that noise? So apparently once you enter the system, it can automatically take control of your ship. So
sounds like the Death Star.
Right. And was it just me, or did that planet look like Disney World? Did you get that vibe? I mean, they're all domes, and is it Epcot that has like the big?
Yeah, the big sphere.
Yeah, the big sphere.
Epcot stands for something. What does it stand for? Something City of the Future. Or City of Tomorrow, I think is what the COT stands for.
Okay.
Experimental Planned City of Tomorrow or something like that. That's what Epcot stands for. So.
Okay.
Anyway, I did find it cool. They land and they get on what they call the Hyperloop.
Yeah.
Which is an actual thing that we're like, as a human race, looking into, which is they looked at doing it between several cities. One of them was Kansas and St. Louis.
Oh.
So it's exactly what you saw in the show, a vacuum sealed tube that they shoot a car down. Through. So
I didn't know that.
It's an actual like concept. I believe Virgin was one pioneering it.
Okay.
It's in developmental hell, right? People, as you might imagine, are a little afraid to travel 600 miles down a tube, but it's above ground. But so the cool thing was like the trip between, let's say, St. Louis and Kansas City. It's a 4-hour drive. It would be a 30-minute Hyperloop trip.
Okay. So it's like a speed train, but to the max.
Yeah. And it's super, 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 super efficient because everything is in a vacuum sealed tube. So you don't have to expend a ton of energy to shoot down the car through the.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I just thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Hyperloop
no, that
actually exists. If you Google Hyperloop, you'll get a lot of information on what's going on with it. So I thought I'm sure they did that on purpose.
Yeah. Well, and even that looks like the tram from Disney World as well. So I was just getting all this like Disney World vibes when I was seeing it.
And they've done a mock-up of the like what the cars would look like for the Hyperloop, and that's
okay.
what it would look like.
Oh, that's cool.
But America is one of the worst ground transportation countries in the world. That we have the slowest trains ever. Meanwhile, Japan's got the freaking bullet trains that you can go all over. Japan's a much smaller country. I get it, by the way.
Well, and I think we're also a country that has more cars per family than any other country, though, too. So there's a lot more independent travel versus public transportation.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. But at the same time, I just if I could avoid getting on an airplane more than that, I'd be all for it.
I would agree with that, especially if you can go that distance in 30 minutes and you probably don't have to be sitting next to someone with a huge leg and uncomfortable from midnight to 5 a.m.
I still have hope.
All right. So they're greeted by 2 Imperial droids, and the planet I think is called Plazio 15. I think that's what I caught them saying.
Pen 15?
Pen 15 Club. We'll go with that. So on a shuttle train, they ask to be taken to the docking bay where Axe Wolves and crew are, but they're told by the intercom system that they need permission from Coruscant to gain access there. So then they ask for their chain codes, or they get scanned, and they recognize, or the computer recognizes who they are, and get escorted to, I guess, the main Capitol building, headquarters of this city or system. So they arrive to the building or biodome and are welcomed to a party and a feast. And this is where
they're welcomed by Pauly Shore.
By Pauly Shore. God.
We send the Joes. That's from Encino Man, but you get it.
His best movie was In the Army Now. I'll stick to that.
Okay.
And this is where Jack Black and Lizzo make an appearance. So Jack Black was an officer during the war, an Imperial, and has now become the king of this planet or system with Lizzo, his wife or his queen, and their courtship is through love. So it wasn't like an arranged one. What are you laughing about?
You know what I thought about when he said he was in the Empire?
No.
Is he a little fat to be a stormtrooper? That's a reference
from Family Guy. Family Guy.
Aren't you a little bitch to be a princess?
No, I think he just says, "Well, you're a bitch" or something like that.
That's right. He's like, oh,
aren't you
riding hell? Then. If you have not seen those 3 Family Guy spoofs of the original trilogy, what are you even doing? You're
missing out.
Gold. And what they do with Meg in that,
or what they don't do with Meg.
Don't give it away. It's fucking awesome. The scene alone where they're trying to fit a couch. You heard me right. Couch into the Millennium Falcon. Watch that and try not to piss your pants
while they're getting shot at.
Yeah.
And not getting hit once.
Anyway,
it's great.
Sidetracked again.
No, you're good.
But I just aren't you a little fat to be.
Yeah, so Jack Black and Lizzo, I didn't catch their character names, so drop those in the chat if you know what they are. But he rebuilt. Yeah, it really is. He rebuilt the planet after the war. And then I thought it was a little weird, but the wife Lizzo asked to hold the baby, meaning Grogu, and then kind of like rejects it. And then Grogu just jumps to her. Just, all right, I'm jumping to you. And they state that they hired the wolves for protection. So they're kind of talking about the Mandalorians and that they're there for protection. All of their resources go to growth and the people. So that means they don't have any means of defense, really, any internal means of defense. And due to that, they hired those Mandalorians, the Wolves crew. So Bo asked to be taken to them, and Jack Black's character is like, well, I have a request first before we take you there. I have to show you the view. And clearly taking you to the view was kind of a side thing. they really had a message to relay to them, and that was to explain their problem that they have of droids malfunctioning. So they have a droid malfunction problem where the droids are like assaulting people and causing damage to the city. Their character of the planet, or their charter of the planet does not allow military into the city limits, so they couldn't ask the wolves to come destroy all those droids and take care of the problem for them, which is why they brought in Din and Bo, because they're not a military, they're just two individuals. So they're now asking Din and Bo to solve the problem for them. In return, the system will recognize Mandalore as an ally and request the New Republic to recognize the system as well. So I thought that was really interesting and kind of brought me back to the previous episode where they're talking about how that one planet wasn't a part of the New Republic or Navarro, and Tiva was trying to find aid to fight off the pirates from Navarro, but they were like, nope, Navarro isn't part of the system, so I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. But so I thought that was kind of fascinating. What were your feelings at this point, Justin?
That it was going to become a buddy cop episode, which is
but what is Chips? Is that one? Would you classify that as a?
Yes, and Eric Estrada was at the conference that we were at, and he was in one of the booths taking pictures with people.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he looks pretty much the same, just a little heavier set. I didn't take a picture with him. I mean, Chips was not really a show that I watched any of, so I'm just familiar with it through pop culture references.
Yeah.
You know, two gay bikers, basically. They
weren't
explicitly gay, but like we all know.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
So then we jump to the security center for the city. And this is where Christopher Lloyd is. He's kind of at the helm. He's orchestrating all the security systems. They've got cameras and, televisions, or I know they're not televisions, but all over the place, just keeping an eye on the system.
Yeah, this peaceful place has cameras all over the place, but the Empire doesn't have them anywhere on their ship, so I can just sneak on all they want.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, how do you have all of this but no defense system? Like, your money will go to this, but not to any kind of like self-aid warriors or soldiers or anything. I found that
during the like surveillance footage, I just kept on thinking like infomercial, because like the overreactions to people, like when someone's like carrying a bucket of suds and like, it falls down. God, I hope you watch this on video.
I was hoping you would actually fall down there and get that kind of.
Ari's down there snoring, so I don't want to bother him. But
I feel like I have to go back and watch all that surveillance though, because I feel like there's probably an Easter egg or something in there.
I wasn't hilarious. Like they're just like screaming at the top of their lungs, and I don't know. It was just reminding me of the overacting on like the infomercials.
Yeah, I think this whole episode was kind of guilty of overacting a little bit or underacting. So yeah, Christopher Lloyd, he's the head security guy of this. He shows them the recordings of the droids like malfunctioning and causing destruction and whatnot. And Bo's like, why don't you just turn off the droids? Like, wouldn't that solve the problem? But Christopher Lloyd says there's like a fail-safe to prevent them from being turned off. So if they shut down the droids, their society would collapse because the people are just too dependent upon these droids to want to turn them off. I thought that was such a kind of a lame reason not to. Like, your people are incapable, so that means don't turn them off, even though it's like destroying your town. Like, I think your people would do just fine if you just turned them off. So
I don't know much. There's some states. I think New Jersey was one of those states that like you could not pump your own gas.
Oregon's one.
Okay, so maybe it was Oregon that I'm thinking of specifically. So you could not pump your own gas, like it was illegal. And then they said, we're going to change that. You're going to have to pump your own gas. And the absolute chaos that ensued.
But to the point where you're like losing lives, where people are dying, like,
there's like a isn't there like a Twilight Zone episode on that concept?
I never watched Twilight Zone, so I'll take your word for it.
It's the concept that you become so reliant on technology that without it you crumble.
I believe that. I believe that. But I think there would be a point where if your people are dying, you'd be like, okay, well, the juice isn't worth the squeeze here. So
the robots got to squeeze the juice because they don't know how to do it.
Well, yeah. So both good points. But then we see, well, no. So the ask is for Bo and Din to take out the rogue droids. So they're not going to just turn them off. They're going to go after them and kind of solve the problem and eliminate at least the malfunctioning droids. So, and then they're directed to go to the lower level where the Ugnaughts are to get the list of the droids that are causing these problems. So they end up doing that, and we get to see the Ugnaughts. So Bo and Din tell them they are there to help with the droid problem. The Ugnaughts don't really respond at first. They're just kind of doing their own thing, working on their droids and stuff. And Din tells them that he was a friend of Quill and he needs their help. And he ends it with, "I have spoken." And this really gets the attention of those Ugnaughts. And then they start talking to him. So they share a drink and talk about the situation. And the Ugnaughts state that the droids aren't malfunctioning. However, they give them the location of the droids they seek. So I thought that was interesting. And they were talking about how Ugnaughts take offense to using the term malfunctioning. And I have to believe because that they take it personally because they're the ones that are working on these droids. So if you say they're malfunctioning, you're jabbing at, you're criticizing their capability and their skills. So they're like, no,
pretty clear.
Yeah. And they are looking at it as like, it's nothing that we're doing. There's something else that's going on here. So then they give them kind of the locations of where the next malfunctions happen. And did you catch how they know where the next malfunction's happening? I thought that was kind of curious. Like, how would you know that? Or are you just sending them to where like the battle droids are conducting?
Send them to where, the battle droids were.
Okay.
You could get a sense of, like, by the way, when they go to that scene, right? And you're going to explain it, so I'll let you explain it and what my thought is behind that.
Yeah, so they are told that to go to the loading docks. This is where those droids are going to be next. And they arrive, and we see battle droids kind of hauling stuff to probably ships or freighters or something, just doing work. And they all look kind of suspicious. And they start questioning the droids, and they tell, or at least a specific droid kind of conducting the plans going on. And they question the droid and tell them that they are investigating malfunctioning droids. Didn't start
investing in Bitcoin. And they're like, ah!
And Din starts messing around with those battle droids to see if any of them start like malfunctioning. And one does. And then Bo's like, recertified, huh? Because the battle droid was kind of explaining to them that they're recertified. They were like warrior droids and everything, but not anymore. They're serving their purpose. But he still says, like, I wouldn't mess with them because they were originally programmed for destruction. And sure enough, that's kind of what happened. So the one droid that reacted to Din starts fleeing. He starts booking it out of there. And Bo and Din chase in pursuit through the city. Din splits off to kind of cut it off and ends up tackling it. And then Bo just shoots it down and destroys it. These like crime scene, like droid pod things come in, square off the crime scene. And Bo ends up finding like a spark pad, which I think is just like a business card. Yeah, just another term for a business card. And it says the resistor on it, which Din's like, oh, that sounds like a droid bar. So let's go to the droid bar. You know, now that you mentioned it, I wasn't really getting that like cop show vibe. But now after you said that and rereading through all this, it is totally giving the cop vibe television show.
Well, like a lot of these episodes have like themes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is like that cop noir kind of deal.
Yeah.
But my problem is with these cop noir, especially when like they're dealing with such a small window, is like the answers are just so forced and like, oh, the resistor. That sounds like a droid bar. What? How many droid bars do you go to? Like, there's no background to like have us.
He hates droids. How would he even know that it's a droid bar?
Yeah.
No,
that's like you know, when your wife, you know, you go to Vegas and they're like, oh, did you go to strip clubs? Strip clubs? What?
Dan, have you ever been to a droid bar? What the hell is a droid bar? Never been.
I don't even know what those are.
What's that oil on you? I don't want to talk about it.
But apparently he's the opposite. He's
yeah.
Like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going. But then, like, you know, and you'll get to this, but like the scene where they're doing, well, I'll let you get to it, and then I'll say my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So Bo and Din then make their way to the Resistor, which is sure enough, it's more of a club, but it's kind of a bar too. And the bar is full of droids, just like drinking oil, not really drinking, but it's probably like plugged in their systems and, you know, replenishing their oil.
Again, reminds me of Spaceballs during the scene where the little dink dink guys are giving her like the little oil, and she's going.
And when they walk in, the music shuts off. All the droids just kind of stop what they're doing, and they all just kind of look
That's
over
a
to
Western theme, right?
Oh, for sure.
When you walk into the saloon.
Yep. Everyone shuts up. Everything. Yep. Exactly. And the bartender asks, "Can I help you?" in that cool little droid voice that it had. And Bo tells it about the spark pad on the droid that they, you know, tackled and destroyed and chased after, and that the evidence points back to their oil pad. And I think by oil pad, she just meant like their establishment. And a protocol droid starts to sneak away, but then they're like, nobody leave, which is also a very Western thing. I feel like in a Western, when that happens, you always see someone trying to like flee out of the door and like get told them to stop. But Bo says that that he might not be a part of it though, because Din's kind of getting this like sense that they're all these droids in here are all in on this, and the bartender's probably kind of the ringleader behind it. But Bo's like, oh, let's not be quick to judgment. He might not be a part of it. And then the droid says that it actually wants to help, and then starts speaking to the point that, you know, they can't be the ones that are doing it because they don't want to be replaced, or because if they keep causing this trouble, they're going to be kicked out or they're going to be decommissioned, and then humans will take their roles and they'll just cease to exist. So that's their stance. And I think that's a pretty good one. And then Din and Bo start believing them. So do you want to cut in on this part yet? Or did you want?
No, it'll be the next scene, but he talks about the Nefaste. Was that what they called it?
Yep. So they go into the office of the bartender, or it's like an office type of thing. And he states that the oil used in the drink is nepenthe, which is the oil which reprograms or programs the droids. And all of the manufacturing droids stem from that same, or malfunctioning droids stem from that same type of nepenthe. So whatever droids are using this type of oil are the ones that end up causing havoc. And they find a presence of subparticles in the oil, and they turn out to be nanodroids. So there are nanodroids being put into the nepenthe, which is kind of setting these droids in motion. Well, maybe no, because the nanodroids were just showing like a chain code, weren't they?
Correct.
They were spelling out some kind of chain code within the oil.
So this is the scene I want to comment on, because it's again about like how like the answers just come to him, and this happens in every cop show. But like the girl's like, "Oh, this might take a while." Oh, there it is.
Oh, it is.
It's right there.
Oh, it comes from the Techno Union.
It's like literally you said that might take a bit for you to find that information. And then, like
beep boop beep beep boop beep. Oh, yeah, there it is.
It's, again, I have to reference something, but like Spaceballs, or not Spaceballs, Super Troopers, when he's like making fun of it, enhance. And this movie is it's not that easy, you know. It's just not. It's not how. That's not how it works. Like, you know, I sell security cameras. People are like, well, how come the image is so bad? Well, it's because, you know, cameras don't work like that. I mean, you can't see 200 feet with a normal camera. You have to have like a military grade camera to see that.
Right. So these nanodroids are stemming from the Techno Union, and they were requisitioned by the security office which is not only unusual, but also illegal. So the droids were ordered by an individual, and come to find out it was Commissioner Hellgate, who is that security guard or leader, Christopher Lloyd. So, all right, we're going to have to make our way back to the commissioner and bring him our findings that you are the guilty party here.
This is part of the episode where I feel like they would take off his mask and he would go, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling Mandalorians.
Yep.
We should call him that, the meddling Mandalorians.
Meddling Mandalorians. Oh, I like that. It's a good tag. And I thought the episode was going really well until we got to this point. And then there's like the next maybe 5-10 minutes that were kind of cringy. A lot of it was the acting.
This guy just got caught with a diabolical plan. and he's like, oh, I hope you can forgive me in the future. You've
been forgiven, but you're going to be put on a moon in exile. That was pretty much how it went.
That's not how a normal person would react in that situation.
No, especially if you have a guy that was like a former Imperial, soldier or officer or something, come king, like you're just going to
his Count Dooku reference.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That
yep.
was great.
Yeah. So
Count Dooku was kind of right.
What's that?
Count Dooku was kind of right.
Yeah. Oh, I think many people would agree that Dooku was right in his thoughts. It was more of how he put it into practice that, becomes more of an issue. But I mean, I can't disagree with the guy on what he was saying about the Jedi. And he even knew that, even though he was a part of it, he was even telling like the Jedi, there's a Sith amongst you or amongst the Senate and everything. And you just won't even pay attention to it. But really quick, going back to the episode. So they go back to the Commissioner Hellgate, confront him about the nanodroids and that he's directing them to do it. And being caught, he kind of threatens the situation. He's going to press a button, which will unleash the droids onto the people. Bo kind of calls him out as a separatist. And this is where, like Dustin says, he referenced Count Dooku and how he was a visionary and that he was cut short by the Jedi. Yeah. Yeah. And then
tase me, bro.
Before he presses that button, they shoot him with like a stun.
Bo got him.
Yeah. Bo got him with like a stun type.
That is that Fifth Element moment.
Yeah, there you go.
Like,
before just shoot him. There you go. And then we cut back to the dinner where Lizzo and Jack Black are.
Well, now they're playing like bocce ball.
Yeah, some kind of game.
Grogu's like, that was cringy too. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, the cringiest part I'll get to at the end, but it does involve Grogu. So Grogu uses the Force to help the wife out in this game, and they bring the king and queen, the commissioner, and tell them what's happening. And this is where they're like, "Oh, we're disappointed."
Yeah.
And then Hellgate apologizes, but then he gets sentenced to exile on a moon. I didn't catch the name of it, and as a reward, they grant Bo and Din an audience with who they were seeking, which is the Mandalorians, and they give them a key to their paradise. And then to Grogu, I was like, what the hell? I even put this, why? I put this in my notes. Why? But she grants him knighthood of the system. And yeah, why? How? Because he cheated to help her win? Did she even notice? Like, what gave her reason to knight him or anything?
So he's the Knight of the New Republic.
Knight of the New Republic. Like, they're not even part of the New Republic yet. But why? What did he do that would give him knighthood?
So cute.
I think this just goes back. As we get further in the season, I think Greg might be right with the rumor that he heard with that Grogu was originally not even planned to be in the season, that he was supposed to be left with Luke Skywalker. And then like Disney was like, no, we need Grogu back because of the money we get from the merchandise and everything.
Yeah, he's just a MacGuffin. He's just a merchandise MacGuffin.
He's not really playing any significant role in this season. And even like in this episode, he's just there. He's using the Force to help her win a game, or riding along, but he's not playing any significant part yet. At least maybe that will change.
Because of that, like his novelty, I think, has worn off on a lot of Star Wars fans who care more about the story.
The story, yeah. And I think a lot of people are
you only have so much time in these episodes, and those little interactions are just wasting time that we don't need to be wasting.
Yeah. And I understand it's not our story to tell. So, I mean, we just have to accept it as it is. But I think a lot of fans are starting to feel like, oh, maybe we would have preferred him just to stay with Luke Skywalker and see.
Did you let Prisoner One out and he told you, like, he was like whispering things in your ear?
What's that?
Did you let Prisoner One out?
Oh, Jordan?
Yeah, because that's what he said. That was his line. It's not our story to tell.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But if it is, I completely agree with him. Because it's true. It's not our story. I mean,
agree with the prisoners.
It's like us going through the history books of our world and being like, oh, I didn't like that happened that way. We need to change it. Because really
all the time.
What's that?
We do that all the time as a society.
Well, true. We change our history books, kind of.
I mean, literally, it's just saying to the victor goes the spoils.
Yeah, no, that's true. But you understand kind of what I'm saying. Like the actual factual events that happened in the past can't be disputed. The meaning behind them and kind of the intentions behind them could be disputed. But like, I mean, I know you've got like conspiracy theorists out there and everything, but I mean, World War I happened. World War II happened. Like, we can't go back and be like, we can't go back and be like, I didn't like that World War II happened. Let's go change that. And, we'll make it something else. This is Star Wars' story to tell, or Lucasfilm's story to tell. So we have to accept what we're getting as history, or at least if they tell us it's canon. We can debate it and we can argue it, but we also have to, one way or another, accept it. So yeah, after that whole award spiel, the cringiest part of this episode, then we get back to the good stuff, and Din and Bo go to Landing Field 3 where the Mandalorians are, and Din says their follower, meaning Bo, should be their leader. And she says no, Axe Wolves is. Like, she's no longer the leader, Axe Wolves is. And Din asks for a plan as they're approaching, and she's like, I'll kind of figure out when we get there. I don't know what I'm going to do right now. So then they arrive, and the wolves are kind of like hanging around outside their ships. Like, I think some were like throwing a ball around or something. They were just chilling. And Axe Wolves asks if they've come back to join the mercenaries. And Bo says that she's there to actually take back the fleet. But Axe says, no, he's in command now, and he's actually fond of it. So he's not going to just let her walk back in. Then Bo challenges him, one warrior to another, and Axe accepts. So they start fighting, and then I wrote, I bet Bo wins. They go at it for a bit. Bo gets him in a headlock with a knife and asks him to yield. He gets away, and the fight continues. And then she later pins him down again and asks him to yield. And then Axe says to her, she'll never be the true leader. Din holds the Darksaber, which is what she seeks, and she'll never take it from him. So because of that, she'll never really become the leader. So then she starts speaking to the crowd of the Mandalorians about who Din actually is, and that he is indeed a true Mandalorian, even though Axe says he's not, probably referring to it because he's a foundling and he's of the old ways. And Axe says to the people that only the wielder of the Darksaber can lead them. And Din has the Darksaber, and he's never going to fight her, which is kind of true.
How they themselves pick and choose which old ways that they want to follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they don't keep their helmets on, but I mean, you have the Darksaber.
We'll follow some old customs, but not all of them. Yeah. They're millennials. So then tells them the situation of how Din is telling them the situation of how Bo rescued him and defeated the individual that defeated Din. So if you remember that, like, cyborg creature, going back to the Mandalore episode, where he gets captured by that creature and the creature tosses away the saber. Then Bo comes in and rescues and takes the saber. So that was Din's way of saying, you know, this creature defeated me and technically took the dark saber from me. And then Bo comes in and defeats that creature and gets the dark saber. So, you know, one way or another, she did.
Property of old ways.
She then is the rightful owner of the dark saber. And then they're like, oh, that is acceptable. So then
I never thought about it that way.
I never thought about it that way. They're like, oh, you got us there. Thus, the blade belongs now to Bo, which is what Din was stating. And he says, I returned the blade to its rightful owner. And I think a majority of the people out there would agree. She is, at least in this moment, really the rightful owner of it. Even the way she had. I was just going to say that. Yeah, exactly. I think the only other one that would be more deserving at this moment is Ren, but she's not here yet. Sabine Wren.
Yeah.
So he hands the blade over to Bo. Bo ignites the dark saber, and then we cut to credits. So good to see that the dark saber is now in Bo's hands. My question to you is, how do we feel about the level of significance in the show with Din versus what's happening with Bo? Like, this season almost seems to be kind of like we're shifting away from Din and now we're moving more towards Bo. Would you kind of agree with that, or what would you say to that?
As long as they keep using Grogu as this awful merchandise MacGuffin, I'm fine with it. Like, get rid of Din if they're going to keep doing that, because it's just not helpful. It's force feeding us this cutesy bullshit.
Tell us how you really feel.
I am.
No, I know. I'm just playing.
I know you're just being sarcastic, but yeah, I mean, Bo's a badass. Honestly, she's a way better fighter.
Yeah.
Than Din, and you know, we obviously know her from Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yep.
I think it's just Clone Wars, right?
She was in Rebels too. She was in both.
Okay, so I mean, like, we haven't established. I say we, you and I.
Yeah.
And anyone who watched those shows have an established relationship with her much longer than we have with Din.
Yep. And that's true.
I'm okay with it. Honestly, perfectly fine. Bo's a great character. They've really done a great job with her in live action. And she looked fucking cool as shit on that throne, honestly.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I even threw out on her Twitter handle as a poll, I said, Bo-Katan is becoming the best, most interesting, and most well-developed character in season 3 of The Mandalorian, yay or nay. And I said, either way, Kate Sackhoff is nailing the character. She did in Clone Wars, she did in Rebels, and she still is in The Mandalorian. Give us more. And in that poll, 80% of the people agreed with that versus 20% disagreed. So people are feeling that Bo-Katan's character is becoming one of, if not the most prominent character at this moment in season 3 of the show. And I tend to agree with that. So I'm definitely curious to see where this goes. But just love seeing strong characters like her. And I love that I have her helmet. Oh, that's right. It's on my wall, mounted, hanging up there. So she's got a pretty awesome helmet. All the Mandalorians, like the Mandalorian style helmet is freaking sweet. I am a historian. That was what my college degree was in. And I focused like medieval and then Roman and Greek Europe. So I love like medieval armor type things. And the Mandalorian helmets look very much like a Teutonic knight, like you're,
or a Spartan.
Or a Spartan, very much so. And I love those styles. So it's like mixing medieval with like science fiction. So I think that's pretty sweet. Excuse me. So anything else on this episode or where you think we're moving forward from this? I mean, we only have 2 episodes left on the season.
Yeah, I think we said all we can say. It was a good episode. Again, 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. Definitely some cringy acting, some buddy cop action we got going on. We even had like the high speed chase where like a lot of property gets damaged.
Mm-hmm.
That's of course a buddy cop staple.
Yep.
So yes, it was good. I liked the episode, and I do like they pushed the plot forward by getting Bo the Darksaber in what I think is a very logical way. I accept the explanation given.
Yes.
It wasn't forced.
Sure. Absolutely. I agree with that. Though I might have wanted a little more suspense in it, I completely agree with it makes sense and I can accept it. The only thing I can't accept is, can we do away with like this soft Disney-fied responses we get in these things? Like, that's what made that whole scene cringy about, we're disappointed. Oh, can I, like, I don't know.
Make it up to you.
Like,
you just try to crumble their society. Like, what are you talking about?
It's just not realistic. And that's what the problem is. I get what they're trying to do. Like, oh, acceptance. Oh, forgiveness. Like, I get it. Those are very solid morals to have. And we as people should follow those traits. Completely agree with that. But if we go to a real world situation, especially when we have like ex-imperials and stuff, like that would never happen in my eyes. And we're watching a show that falls under the title of Star Wars. Like, give me like, let's see the wrath. Let's see the frustration. Like, bring that out. Leave out the Disney-fied stuff. Like, this is, if you want it in the animated, okay, I can pass it off a little more there. In live action, give me the dirty stuff. But that's just me. All right, so we will end that for our breakdown of chapter 22, right? 22. Yep, 22, Guns for Hire. Guns for Hire, obviously meaning Axe Wolves group. And we will move on to the rounds, most recent rounds of the bracket challenge for best Star Wars video game out there. And if you recall last episode, we had a tie in one of ours, so we carried it forward to this episode, and we do have a winner now. So number 13, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, did overtake number 20, Star Wars Rebel Assault 5, or Rebel Assault series. Sorry, Rebel Assault series. I did notice you, Dustin, though, voted twice, so I had to remove one of your votes. And that I
didn't mean to then.
No, that's fine. I was able to catch it. But if I didn't catch it, then we wouldn't have gone to overtime, because then Shadows of the Empire would have won earlier, which is the result we ended up getting. But so Shadows of the Empire will move on to see another day. And then our current matchups. So matchup number 15 put number 5 Star Wars Force Unleashed up against number 28 Star Wars Arcade. Star Wars Arcade got out to the fast lead, but then slowly got overtaken by Forced Unleashed. So the upset almost happened, but Force Unleashed, both games, will move on to the next round. Britton says, sometimes you vote for something and other times you vote against it. I never played the Force Unleashed series. However, I'm tired of people wanting Star Killer in canon as he's portrayed in the games. That would create issues for storytelling and reasonable force powers portrayed in the movies and shows. And I always enjoy Sam Witwer, whether Maul, a vampire in Being Human, or Judge Me All You Want in Once Upon a Time, winky face. So yeah, I mean, that would probably throw a loop in, or a wrench into some of the canon stuff for Star Wars. But I did play both those games and they were fantastic. Being able to like massively take down stormtroopers. It was kind of a Fallen Order before Fallen Order. Did you ever play Force Unleashed?
Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't you say it was kind of like Fallen Order before Fallen Order? Like, you could take
Fallen Order on steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
You're Darth Vader's apprentice, then you became. Dude, you like literally move a Star Destroyer.
Star Destroyer, yeah. And I love one of the. I forget if it's
like, I don't know, how old was I? Like 20. I was like, I'm all for this.
Yeah. Was it the second?
Damn.
Was it the second one
The
where
second one.
early on in the level or early on in the game, you're kind of running on this ledge and there's like these TIE fighters flying by and you can literally like stop them in place and then like crunch them. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
All right. And then matchup 16, which was number 12 Star Wars Racer series, including episode 1 Pod Racer versus number 21 Star Wars Clone Wars Republic Heroes. And this one, it wasn't as close. Star Wars Racer takes the win. That Pod Racer game was just so much fun. I'm sure that's the one everyone is voting for. Britton says, I never played either. I've heard great things, especially about the Pod Racer game. I remember buying the Galactic Heroes on sale. Then it never played for me, though I could get to the menu, then it crashed. So sounds like there was some technical issues or software issues with that game, which might have caused issues. And then looking to our next matchups. So we'll put the polls up and everything, bring us your votes and your responses, comments. But matchup number 17, which is the number 2 seed Star Wars Battlefront series. So that's both sets. There's 2 sets of 2 Battlefront games. This title includes all 4 of those. So you got to loop all those games into one title versus number 31 Star Wars Galaxies. And then matchup 18, which is seeded number 15 Star Wars Galactic Battleground, which is like that. I think it's like that Age of Empire type game for Star Wars vehicles and troops and stuff like that. Versus number 18 Star Wars Rebellion. I've played Star Wars Rebellion. That is very much like a chess computer game, very strategy oriented. It's a lot of fun, but if you haven't played any of those, check them out. They're both really fun. All right. Well, any closing thoughts from you, Dustin?
Yeah, I did want to thank Records of the Republic for commenting and agreeing with me on my take on the terrible
Battle Scars
book. I stand by my opinions. After thinking about it more, I still think the book was garbage. And I think as fans, we should petition to get it removed from canon.
I am not looking forward to reading that book from everything I've been hearing. But I have to push through it
so bad so you can understand. I think.
Oh, I will read it. I will read it.
I think we should have a podcast dedicated to listening to your opinion. Because everyone knows my opinion.
What if we just had a podcast of me just reading it?
Yeah, I think we would lose a lot
of viewership.
We would lose our one listener. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not gonna brag or anything, but our last episode, and it was just me, was our highest viewership.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna attribute that to I wore a helmet because I only wear the headphones, so I don't like get the sound from the speakers mixed up with the sound going into the microphone. So since I didn't have to listen to you guys talk, I wore my helmet. So I think it was purely because I wore a helmet during the episode, which spiked our viewership.
You tell yourself whatever you want, bud. I think it's because Record of the Republic liked my commentary on the book.
So then they continued their viewership over to the next episode.
Exactly.
No, shout out to Records of the Republic. Go check them out if you haven't had the opportunity to listen. Go talk to Rural Farm Boy. He is such a huge Star Wars fan, such a big advocate for podcasting groups. Like, if you're a new podcast, get in touch with Rural Farm Boy. He will help connect you with so many other Star Wars podcast people. You can find him on Twitter. One of the nicest guys out there in the Star Wars universe. So yeah, shout out to him for sure. But yeah, go check out Records of the Republic. They're very much like us, just guys talking about Star Wars,
guys, just doing
just chatting, just bros chatting about Star Wars, and you can't beat that.
Big guys, Stewie. Just doing bro stuff.
And we still plan on doing a crossover episode with Records of the Republic. They wanted to get a few recordings in to, establish their own selves, which is totally understandable. We were looking around in May to do kind of a joint or a co-op. We were talking about around May the 4th. So
we gotta do that live one. Where are they based out of? Do you know?
One is North Carolina. And then the other, oh man, Maryland.
Oh, that's way different places.
But yeah, it's Wade and Kevin. I want to say Wade and Kevin. And I've talked with them. They're very nice guys, and they're doing a bingo game.
They agree with my opinion.
Right. They're doing like a bingo game for the Mandalorian, which was an awesome idea, and they're going to have like a prize to whoever wins it and whatnot. So, but yeah, go check them out. All right. So I will speak to our social media handles really quick. So you can find us on Twitter at DetBlock AA23pod, on Instagram at Detention_block_AA_23, and then our Facebook group and YouTube channels, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. Bring us your comments, opinions, follows, likes, subscriptions, all of that, especially reviews. Reviews go the furthest for us in terms of getting our podcast out there to listeners who haven't found us yet. I would encourage 5 stars, but I won't beg you for that. But we'll beg you.
There's a podcast that I listen to. It's a local radio show in St. Louis that talks. They turn themselves into a podcast. So they have this joke where they get a review. It's like, oh my God, awesome episode. I loved everything. I laughed my butt off, and love the personalities on the show. 3 out of 5 stars.
What the heck?
Like, where was the 2 stars missing from that review? Doesn't match.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's if you want to help like a growing podcast or a younger podcast like ourselves, it doesn't take much. Just, put that little 5-star review or click that like button, that subscribe button, all of that. Like, really, truly, that goes a long way for us. And we greatly appreciate all of that. So, yeah. And to your point, Dustin, we do need to get that live broadcast at Under Pressure.
We need to bring a guest.
And we need to bring a guest.
Is getting empty.
If you are a listener out there and you think you have something to contribute and you want to come on and speak to everyone as well, let us know. Shoot us a direct message or shoot us an email or something and let us know it.
Very intimidating though, so you might be really
nervous. Yeah.
When you're starting off. Yeah.
Dustin was really nervous when he first moved in, so with me.
Murdered. Or get read poetry at friggin' 4 a.m. in the morning.
There's still time. But yeah, we're looking for more guests to come on, and we're looking to do a live recording at Under Pressure Brewery.
Kennedy, we will accept you as a guest on this podcast.
We will. Bring it to us. All right. Well, we will wrap it up with that. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your evening, rest of your week. Again, Star Wars Celebration come up. A lot to talk about that on the other end. I know Zach's excited to talk about. He's kind of our celebration guy, so he should be back with us next week. And then we'll talk more Mandalorian as well. So we'll catch you guys next time. And as always, may the Force be with you. With who? You're mouthing it. I can't even hear it.
Wild.
I still can't. Oh, the wild.
Yeah.
Well, I can't help it if I can't hear it. And no one else can hear it.
Do it live.
Fix it in post. All right. Well, I was expecting Cardinals, but we won't go down. Well, we won't go down that route.
They're awful and they deserve it.
Go Brew Crew.
Hey,
all right.
Man, they're fun to watch. They got a young guys performing, so
can't go wrong with that.